Assalamu alaikum. The question is, what is the purpose of life according to the Quran? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a very important fact that relates to how we understand our existence in this life. So in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 28, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you were dead and then you were made alive. Now we are alive. And then you shall die, and then you shall live again. In other words, death, and then life, and then death, and then life. We are in the first life, to be followed by the second death, to be followed by the final and eternal life. Very clear. So death preceded life. So what is he talking about? In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in that verse, how do you deny? كيف تكفرون أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, how could you deny God while you know that you were dead before this life in which you are now? So let's understand this from a scientific point of view, from a real point of view that we can all relate to. Let's understand that before we were born, before the day of our birthday, right? We came out from our mother's womb. In other words, Allah refers to that stage and whatever was before it, wherever we were before, as death. We know it was there. We know we were there. We know we were in our mother's womb, and yet we were not in this life. Right? So in other words, that is part of the death that this verse number 28 in Surah Al-Baqarah is referring to. So now, in order to understand what is the purpose of life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that in order to prepare yourself for the next life after the coming death, and we're all going to go through the second death, in order to prepare for the second life, we have to work in this life. Now, we have to understand a couple of things. If we observe all the animal creatures around us, their babies come out a lot more prepared for life than humans. And this is very noticeable, very observable, very interesting and intriguing. Why does a gazelle, a baby gazelle, or a fawn, right? Or, a baby deer, or, any baby of any animal come out on their birthday, ready to run, making sounds, able to understand their mother's voice, able to find a way to eat, and they all live and they're all ready. Most of the animals are usually ready to take care of themselves. But humans, on the other hand, are not ready at all. They're not programmed. In other words, this creature is unique because it is not pre-programmed. It doesn't have all the instincts it needs to have to survive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Surah An-Nahl, number 78. Allah brought you out of your mother's wombs, not knowing anything, totally unprogrammed. This is exactly the point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the capability to fully program ourselves, unlike the animals. Unlike the animals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you out of the wombs of your mothers, not knowing anything, and then He gave you the hearing, the sight, and your ability to comprehend, so that perhaps you would be thankful. How is that so? How are we unique? It is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the full opportunity in our own self-development. So we grow and then we continue to develop ourselves. After the first initial period where our mothers and fathers help us in becoming self-sustaining, right? We sustain ourselves physically, then we can continue to develop ourselves emotionally, intellectually, through knowledge, through the right behavior, and thus we prepare ourselves for the next life. Let me give you a very simple example, going back to the example of the fetus in the mother's womb. Let's imagine that I go to that fetus at about 7 months, right? 7 months after conception. And I ask that fetus, imagine that in 2 months you're going to come out to a totally different type of existence. He would say, nah, that's not going to happen. I really like it in here. I love it. The sounds are nice. They're warm. You know, the environment is warm. I don't have to search for my food. I sleep when I want. I wake up when I want. And then I say, well, you have to prepare your eyes. And he says, no, there's nothing to see in here. What should I prepare my eyes for? Right? He has no perception that there is a life coming, that there's a different type of existence coming. And such is life according to the Quran. For us in this life, this existence is our womb for the next existence. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted the human beings as a unique creature to prepare ourselves, to help ourselves in our own self-development, to go to the next life where we would use all of the things that we prepared ourselves with. And that is the purpose of life according to the Quran. I hope for all of you and for me that we are preparing in the right way. Assalamu alaikum.